Have you ever found yourself in a relationship where you give everything, your love, your time, your heart, yet somehow still feel unseen? Where the closer you try to get, the more they pull away, leaving you questioning your worth? If that sounds familiar, you may have crossed paths with one of the most complex emotional patterns in relationships, avoidant attachment. Today, we're peeling back the layers of this behavior. The avoidant may not intend to manipulate, yet the outcome is the same. You become conditioned to accept affection in fleeting bursts while enduring long stretches of absence. The balance of power shifts. They become the gatekeeper of connection, deciding when love flows and when it's withheld. And in your longing, you begin to confuse inconsistency with passion, chaos for chemistry, and instability for intensity. You tell yourself that this roller coaster must mean something profound, that the highs and lows are proof of passion. But in truth, it isn't. Depth you're feeling. It's chaos disguised as connection. And deep down, part of you already knows this. You feel the hollowness that lingers even when they're near. You sense that love shouldn't feel like walking on eggshells, that intimacy shouldn't leave you questioning your worth. Yet, another part of you, the part still healing from unfinished trauma, clings to hope. Hope that this time will be different, that your love will calm their fear, that your patience will earn their trust. And so, the cycle repeats. Closeness, withdrawal, confusion, longing, and closeness again. Each rotation etches deeper grooves into your mind until unpredictability itself starts to feel like home. But ask yourself, why does this feel so familiar? Why do so many of us find ourselves trapped in this emotional loop even when we know it hurts? The answer lies in the blueprint of early attachment. In those childhood moments when love was inconsistent, when caregivers were present but unpredictable, when affection appeared and disappeared like the tide. Back then, your nervous system learned that love must be earned, that safety can vanish without warning. And so, when you meet someone who mirrors that old rhythm, your body doesn't register danger, it recognizes home. The irony is cruel. What once wounded you now feels magnetic. And this is where real healing begins. Not in fixing the avoidant, not in proving your worth, but in breaking the spell of inconsistency. It starts when you turn inward and ask yourself, why do I chase what runs? Why do I silence myself for scraps of affection? These questions are not easy. They demand that you face not only the partner in front of you, but the echoes of your past still shaping your choices. Yet in that confrontation, in that sacred moment of self-awareness, the seed of transformation begins to grow. To stand steady in the storm of hot and cold love is to awaken as a high-value woman, one who finally understands that her worth is not defined by another's willingness to stay. She no longer mistakes unpredictability for passion, nor does she allow her feminine energy to be drained by inconsistency. She knows that real intimacy is steady, not sporadic, nourishing, not exhausting. And yet, even in her awakening, a question still echoes softly within. If I stop chasing the warmth that flickers, will I ever dare to ask for the kind of love that burns steady? Picture this. You gather every ounce of courage to speak the words that have been pressing against your chest like stones. Maybe it's a confession of fear. Maybe it's the quiet ache of loneliness that you finally name aloud. You open your heart hoping for tenderness, for understanding, for even the smallest sign of connection. But instead, you're met with the cold slap of dismissal. You're overreacting. You're too sensitive. Or worse, silence. A silence so dense it swallows the air between you. And in that moment, something within you retreats, as if your soul has been told once again that it is too much. How many times can a heart survive being told that its truth is an exaggeration? This is one of the cruelest patterns of avoidant attachment, the quiet art of minimizing emotion. On the surface, it appears calm, composed, even rational. They tell themselves they're being practical, avoiding drama, staying grounded. But beneath that stillness moves a deeper fear. For them, emotion feels like chaos. Vulnerability feels like danger. So instead of leaning in, they withdraw, believing distance is control, when in truth, it is fear disguised as logic. What they don't see is the damage left behind. Each time they dismiss your feelings, they chip away at the fragile foundation of trust, eroding the very safety that love needs to survive. And if your nature leans toward the feminine, toward empathy, depth, and connection, your instinct is to reach closer in response, to bridge the silence, to soften yourself, hoping to earn the tenderness that should have been freely given. You explain again this time, softer, gentler. You choose your words carefully, swallowing tears before they fall. You tell yourself you're not being dismissed, just misunderstood. You convince yourself that maybe you're asking for too much. So each adjustment feels like grace, like compromise, but it's not. It's self-erasure. You start trading authenticity for tolerance, truth for peace, clarity for compliance, and with every quiet concession, another piece of your voice slips away, another fragment of your identity fades. This is where the shadow of narcissistic dynamics begins to creep in, because dismissal is not mere avoidance. It becomes a subtle form of gaslighting. When someone repeatedly tells you that your feelings are wrong, your perception begins to blur. Slowly, you start to doubt your own reality. Maybe I am too emotional. Maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe it really is all in my head. And once you stop trusting your emotional compass, it becomes all too easy to navigate by theirs. It's rarely intentional, but it's deeply destructive. The cruelest part, the more you internalize their dismissals, the less you believe your own story. Why does this dynamic cut so deep? Because most of us were conditioned long before adulthood to distrust our feelings. Maybe a parent told you to stop crying. Maybe someone insisted you were fine when you weren't. Maybe as a child you learned that being vulnerable meant being ridiculed, ignored, or punished. So when your avoidant partner minimizes your emotions, it doesn't just wound you in the present, it reopens the scars of your past. The pain is sharper because it carries echoes of every moment. You were told your feelings were too much, your needs inconvenient, your inner world unworthy of care. And yet somewhere deep within, you still know this truth. Love is meant to see and be seen. A connection without emotional validation isn't intimacy, it's illusion. The paradox is brutal. The very person you long to trust with your heart becomes the one teaching you to silence it. But within that heartbreak lies an invitation to step out of the loop, to reclaim your voice, to remember that your feelings are not flaws, but guides. This reclamation marks the rise of the high-value woman. She no longer apologizes for her depth. She no longer confuses sensitivity with weakness. She understands that to feel deeply is to live authentically, that her emotions are sacred messengers, not burdens. And when she honors them, she begins to heal. Not because the avoidance suddenly transforms, but because she refuses to shrink herself for the sake of staying connected. She stands tall in her truth, choosing peace over approval, and in that choice she becomes free. But here in those walls, they ration their words, lock away their truths, and wear detachment as armor. But to the one who longs for closeness, this detachment feels indistinguishable from abandonment. It stirs the deepest, most ancient wounds, the ones that whisper, "You are too much to be loved. You are not enough to be chosen." For those who radiate strong feminine energy, this dynamic can feel like being starved while sitting at a table overflowing with food. Feminine energy thrives on openness, on flow, on connection. It longs to soften, to reveal, to be seen and held. But when this energy meets a partner who withholds, the natural rhythm is broken. You start to question yourself. Am I too demanding? Am I too needy? The truth is, your longing is not a flaw. It is the heartbeat of a human soul seeking intimacy. Yet when it collides with avoidance, you begin to bend, to shrink, to dim your own glow, not because it has faltered, but because their shadow refuses to reflect it. This sets the stage for a cycle hauntingly similar to narcissistic dynamics. A narcissist withholds empathy to assert control. An avoidant withholds intimacy to preserve safety. In both cases, you contort yourself to bridge a gap that cannot be filled. pouring energy into a vessel that leaks. Each withheld word, each absent gaze, each brush of emotional neglect becomes a trigger, echoing not just the pain of now, but the ghosts of your past childhood moments when love was conditional, inconsistent, or elusive. Your body remembers what your mind tries to rationalize. Here, trauma, recovery, and love become entangled. Their silence doesn't belong to them alone. It awakens the dormant wounds within you. And instead of freedom, you feel trapped in a repeating spiral. You tell yourself, if I love harder, wait longer, give more, maybe they'll finally open up. But this belief is a trap. It assumes your worth is measured by your ability to heal their fear. It keeps you tethered to a cycle where you bleed for a void that was never yours to fill. Yet beneath the exhaustion, a quiet defiance stirs a reminder of the woman you are beneath the shrinking. The high-value woman knows, even if she has forgotten for a while, that her worth is not negotiable. She knows that love without reciprocity is not love, it is dependency. She understands that true relationship healing begins not when the other changes, but when she refuses to mistake neglect for intimacy. She realizes that her need for emotional safety is not weakness, it is wisdom. Wisdom born of a heart unwilling to starve while sitting beside someone who guards the well. And yet, the tension cuts deep. What do you do when the one you love is both your sanctuary and your wound? How do you hold the warmth of their presence while surviving the chill of their absence? And if you stop bending, stop silencing, stop waiting for them to finally awaken, what then when faced with the possibility that they never will? Imagine this. You're sitting across from someone you've entrusted with your heart, someone you've led into the most sacred corners of your soul. The table is set, the candles flicker, but their gaze drifts distant, evasive, as if they're searching for an escape rather than meeting the contours of your face. You feel it before you can name it. Their mind is elsewhere, their spirit disengaged, their presence a shadow of what it should be.